All right, folks, I believe that we are good to go. Yes, we are indeed. Welcome on back for another fantastic edition of Traders Talk. It's like, geez, where is this stock going to go now, right? Octo, it's up 3,700%. We're going to get into this trade in just a moment. Welcome back to our workshop, though. Great to have Uday, Grant, Chuck, who clocked out just a moment ago on this trade. Roberto, Genevieve, Roger, Alicia. You see all this just from before. Lawrence now just joining us here. Perfect. Let me know if you got me here on the mic, folks, loud and clear inside our live trading room or otherwise on social media. Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube's the works. All of us out there in the internet's here this afternoon. Down below at Cyber Trading U, if you're new to our channel, stream, platform, alike, etc. Hit the follow and subscribe button down below. I could finally talk a lot better here. Got 3 teeth yanked last week. It was kind of annoying to get everything done, but it was a lot more annoying to have everything in to begin with. So the teeth are out. We could talk better. We are good to go. But what the hell is going on here with Octo? Are you kidding me? It's up 4,000% now. All right. So first things first, who here inside our live trading room has seen before, since they've been with us, who here has ever seen a stock up 1,000% before today, before this stock? Who here has seen a stock before that has gone up over 1,000% in one sitting, in one day? Few of us saying here before. Lawrence says seldom. Lawrence, you've been with us for a little while, right? So, you probably know as good as anyone here, if not best. A lot of us here saying no. You might not maybe remember. There might be one from a couple years back, perhaps, that just popped, whatever. Just it's not as often, right? And even if it happened in the past, you just don't remember it. The one that stands out to me that comes to mind, was it MVST from years back? Was it this one? May have been a different stock even. Listen, I forget what I have for breakfast each and every morning. So, it may have even been a different ticker. But every now and then, it's not as often, but we'll get a stock to go up 1,000% in one day. Well, you could probably keep asking this question, folks. How often have we ever seen a stock go up 2,000%, 3,000%? Honestly, I've been doing this with Fausto for 11 years now. Maybe this has been the case before, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you the last time, if ever, we've traded a stock that's gone up 4,000% one day. Latest saying dries. Yeah, you have to go all the way back to that. This stock here, Tops, is a stock that we traded probably back in 2015, 2017, somewhere around that era. Let's take a look here, Lita, for you. Let's see. This is a different company, not the one that Leda is referring to, but they're in the same business. This is reverse splits, included here, but basically like a 7x move or something like that. Pretty crazy, right? Just point being, I don't think any of us have ever really seen a stock up this much in one day. So let me ask us, should we be beating ourselves up for leaving money on the table? Should we be really criticizing ourselves as harsh on this trade compared to something that's, I don't know, not up as much as this? No, not at all. I mean, if you're doing that, then we need to talk about handling emotion, not being as sensitive within the market. That's where obviously we could all laugh about it and be happy or laugh about it as a joke and be like, oh, I wish I had my shares back. I sure wish I had my shares back, right? No kidding. But point being is that in terms of holding ourselves to a standard, holding ourselves up to a certain level, well, we focus on what happens more often than not, right? We focus on what happens more often than not. This doesn't really happen really ever at all. So, obviously we all wish that we had our shares back, but don't beat yourself up over this as much as you would beat yourself up over, like, I don't know, like from last week trading the open stock, OPEN. Nice move from Friday. Nice move from Thursday. This is just its average Joe type of move. And we called it out. Listen, if you were there and you missed it, all right, that one I'd probably beat myself up over a little bit more. When it comes to the profit potential, of course, we're like, oh, shoot, I wish I made that money. The more that we focus on the shoulda, coulda, woulda, we're either going to take an irrational trade on this thing when we probably shouldn't be, or otherwise we're going to be wasting our time, killing our time throughout this day, worrying about the shoulda, coulda, woulda. Because guess what? This stock, it's up so much right now. I wasn't expecting this to be running even as we were doing this workshop. So I'm sure sooner than later, this will come right back down, right? Shouldn't they all? what this will actually do is this will unlock the door for all the other crazies to break out the insane asylum. There's a stock right now I'm in on currently, Duo. This thing's been taken off pretty nicely. And hey, this one's not up 1,000, 2,000, 4,000%, right? So that was the whole point of today. I just want to let you know that. We're going to go into the Octo move. We're going to discuss Octo. We'll break it down, go over the levels, how to trade it, what I did in pre-market, the trade I took. But otherwise, though, I just want to mention there's plenty of other fishies out there in the ocean for us to try and catch. I mentioned this earlier. I wrote to all of us earlier. I said, for anyone that missed out on the Octo move, this only opens the door for the rest of the crazy stocks to break out over the course of this week. Not even for this day, but for this whole week, right? That's this right here. Today, remember what today is, folks. Today is just Monday. So, we got Tuesday, we got Wednesday, we got Thursday, we got Friday too, obviously. But, that said, there's going to be another Octo potentially. Maybe it doesn't go up 1,000%. Maybe it only goes up 100%. But shoot, if this goes from $4.50 to $9 like that, I'll be pretty happy, at least with that move. Just to mention, though, we'll go into the Octo trade right now, break down the pre-market move that it had. And, this trade became broken, right? When a trade kind of breaks the mold, breaks the system, and just starts making a move none of us would ever expect, you're going to see larger gaps on the chart over time, and it makes it a lot tougher to trade. So any of this here will kind of just quickly go through, but it's more about the pre-market. Listen, I know a lot of us were at our desks early in the morning here, and when it was up 700%, 800%, 1,000%, you were probably still very hesitant. You're probably like, oh, shoot, shouldn't be doing this on a lot of shares. But you were probably a bit more confident with taking it during the pre-market hours compared to now. So I know a lot of us, like Phil and Deborah and Chuck, a lot of us did pretty well on this trade during the pre-market hours. So let's more than anything just cover this move from early. We open up our trading room as early as 7:30 in the morning every day. Technically, you can get in there earlier, so you could chat with our students early, like prior to 7:30. We get screen sharing at 7:30. We get list out there by 7:45, 7:50. And then really by 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll tend to see more volume kick in. We go over this in our phase 2 course, the phase 2 stock course. I just taught this last week or 2 weeks ago it was. But, even if you missed this initial run, after 8 o'clock, if this really wants to work out and if the stars align, if this flips resistance into support, if it breaks resistance just straight up, there is obviously a case for higher. But let's go over this to begin here. This was not $53 at 6 in the morning, right? This was $3 at 6 in the morning. Let me ask folks real briefly, for a cheap stock like this, cheap, inexpensive stock, what common set of price levels should we often anticipate for there to be support resistance at? What do we got? For a cheap stock like this, what common set of price levels should we expect for there to be support resistance at? Go. Chuck got your email from earlier today as well. 50-cent levels, whole numbers, all of us answering there too. I mean, I'm not going to put a line at every one of those. In fact, if we want to focus on a price level even stronger than every 50 pennies, maybe we could just start off on every dollar, right? We could do that. So it's easy to say in hindsight, just using whole number dollar levels, 4, 5, 6, 7, it retested resistance at 4. It blasted over resistance at 4. I already answered this here for us. I'd normally have our students answer this right here, but you'd expect resistance to try and flip into support. And it pulls back and holds over support pretty nicely, builds higher lows after. It retests resistance numerous times at 5. So as long as you're waiting to either A, see the break above resistance, like the clean pop and breakout, well, at that point, see the flippening of resistance into support. Otherwise, though, wait, because the more that you keep seeing resistance getting poked at and poked at and poked at, and if it's still fighting, there's plenty of times you could be there, right place, wrong time. There's no fixed number of tests I wait, but it's just to mention, the more this is still building here, there's chance to see a breakout. Even here, this could have been right place, wrong time, perhaps, and then just a couple minutes later, thankfully, what's easy to say in hindsight is this obviously re-breaks resistance, runs up much higher. Now, what we'll do is go into the book map here really briefly. We'll go into the actual heat map, show what the orders actually look like. But let me go into the news, though, first. So there's some news that came out with this stock, Octo. It pertains to crypto here. I'm trying to Get my book map here configured. Give me a moment. It's basically in pertaining to crypto. And there's a company that we've traded very successfully over the last couple of months, BMNR. They did a $20 million investment. So I think what a lot of traders were hoping to see, which it actually not only did it, but well exceeded it percentage wise. But this company BMNR made such a big move back at the end of June, went from basically $4 up to a high of 161. So it's just to mention that over time, it was a great short squeeze, and people are trying to make this Octo stock the next BMNR. Basically because the company BMNR is investing in this company, so they're like, "Oh, it's the next Tom Lee play. It's the next fun strat play that's going to pop and run." Oh, it's working out so far. That's for damn sure. So that's easy to say after the fact, but when it's at $4, $5 here, hey, why not have that thought in your head? You're like, all right, well, trend's still holding here. Maybe the news can help this stock become the next BMNR trade. And that's kind of a quick way to add two and two together. But now, as far as going into the actual orders, yeah, we had resistance at $4. So not a surprise that once it broke over resistance here, $4, it flipped it proper into support. Now, over time, I'm sure this got pretty messy. So let me just show what the rest of the heat map looked like here. Looks like an order on the ask popped up for a moment. That was short-lived because buyers came in and blew that thing out the water. That was right around like 4:30. Once it broke through this orange line here, just completely took off. But what helped us out even more is that we kept seeing bids pop up. Essentially a ladder over time. You had some on the ask too, but the buyers kept pushing this up between the orders on the bid that appeared and then just naturally re-breaking a resistance like $5, just a chart level there. But the more it keeps poking, and you get these orders on the bid to help support it, easy to say in hindsight, but you should be expecting a nice squeeze. So nice run up from that point there. Now, the more this keeps going up, without consolidating, without shaking down, you should not be just trying to enter that trade. So if you missed it off of 5, then the more it keeps going up parabolically, let's wait. Because A, this might be the end of the show right here. You never know. It's easy to say in hindsight, there's more left on it. But when it's going up here, there's time. There's plenty of time. Same thing happened with another trade. I'm not going to go too much into, at least right now, but what was it there, Tim? The hour trade? Yeah, there was plenty of time from where we first looked at this. There was plenty of time and it broke up much higher afterwards. So at least to say, the more this goes up parabolically, wait to see a pullback, wait to see more signs that will help push this up further. So it does pull back a little bit, probably holding way over the VWAP. Yeah, way over the VWAP here. This is at like $4 or so. So that's not going to get hit really yet. But that's just where otherwise you gotta wait to see some sign of life. Maybe if it pulls back to 5, right? If it pulls back to 5, maybe resistance flips into support there. Now, otherwise, it consolidates, and if it breaks resistance here afterwards, then either try and take the break above resistance or to see the flip of that into a support. So it took time. It took about 10 minutes, 15 minutes for this to build out. I mean, considering how much this moved up, that's a good amount of time that went on. Resistance at 7, resistance at 670-ish. This is where it gets a little messy here. I'd focus on the whole number level, but you have some orders here that can complement 7 as a backup support. Even on the shake, how far does this drop? Does this go directly down to 7, or does this get a little bit higher from it? Yeah, it looks like it actually goes down as low as 716. So even on a drop here, there's a case to see 7 get tested, but it does such a good job holding higher lows throughout this morning. Where we tend to look at iceberg orders, it's tough to just keep expecting this to go up. We're getting into 8 o'clock. The more we kind of see the stock push up. The only thing with this is that there's no volatility halts in pre-market, but other than that, you got to be more skittish the more this keeps popping. So unless if you get in from 4, 5, maybe on the break over 7, the more built out there, this is where it gets a lot tougher to enter, even if it consolidates for a little bit here, because it's already up so much from earlier. But Focus on the icebergs. This is where I want us to just focus on the orange lines that are going across the page. I got off a call with a student earlier, one of our brand new gold students, mind you. They have a lot of trading experience, so I feel like they have their head on their shoulders pretty straight and forward. But it's just to say though that they had mentioned, there's a lot to digest here at first, right? There's a lot to kind of sit and look at here and just kind of see what's what. Well, that's on a general basis, right? That's on a general level. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is, doesn't matter what stock it is, morning, afternoon, time of the day. Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you're process oriented, it allows us to slow everything down a lot more. Meaning this, I mean, hey, the more this keeps going up, 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 it's okay to be hesitant. It's okay to not enter. But this is where we need to focus on what is the biggest, what is the best level. And that's where I want to have us look at the orange lines across the page. So kind of looking at how dark some of these were from earlier, like at like $3 or at $4 here, what's the size? How many shares makes up that iceberg? What do we have all of us here inside our live trading room? Chuck, Tom, Chuck. I got two Chucks there. Catherine joining us here. Grant, Bill. What's the number that makes up this orange line at $4? How many shares is this? Just want to make sure no one's sleeping behind the wheel here. But how many shares does that create? 26,000, right? You got Chuck V, you got Bill Nabil, Debbie right there. Perfect. All right, cool. So that in its own created a nice breakout level. Stock ran up nicely off of it. If there's an iceberg order that would be like double the size of that, I'd feel a lot more confident about a potential move. If we see iceberg orders around the same size, less than that size, I'm not going to be as confident, right? Because clearly that size allowed this stock to pop at $4. Well, it moved all the way up to $7. It moved all the way up to like $8. Okay, well, the more this kept going up, let's see, we see 36,000 here at 470. That's all right. That's a little larger than 26,000, right? Now we start seeing larger size though. This popped up a little afterwards, about 52,000. All right, quite literally double, right? So I'll take it. Now, over time, the more that you keep seeing sizes like this pull up, then you should look to try and see if there's a new entry to take. So what happened here? Well, it ended up trying to float over 750, over 728. This was just kind of consolidating for a little while, right? Now, notice the CVP column. It's not as prominent. It doesn't stick out as sharp here, but we're going to have to work with it because obviously it keeps going up higher. But the more this kind of lays underneath this area and this builds out here on this column, the volume spike, I'll feel a little bit better about saying, okay, the more it keeps crashing into that, testing, 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 get the breakout. And as long as it stays over that, there's a case for a move. Shit, this is way before 9 o'clock, way before I even take my own trade on this stock here. So obviously this keeps going. This whole morning, I'm not going to go through every level on this stock, folks. This kept going up. In fact, I'll even expedite to where I jumped in myself. I got in over 15 or right at 15, right over 15 here. But point being is that look what happened. The same strategy that I was kind of focused on there. Well, we start seeing some larger orders show up. 1520, 1475. This is 30,000, so it's not as big. This is 50,000. Okay, that's decent size compared to what we saw earlier. So generally, I was saying to our traders in our room, like I was posting this part earlier around like 8:40 in the morning. Just show this to you here. Let's see if I can. And this didn't happen. What I'm about to show you here did not happen, but it's all a matter of just anticipations because thankfully this didn't happen and it allowed me to take this trade. So I said, if Octo breaks clean below 1475 to 15, I could see a drop back down towards 11, right? And I wrote that at 8:46 in the morning to you. So at 8:46, I'm seeing this kind of shake down a little bit here, pulls down here a little bit. I'm just saying, hey, if it breaks below this, be careful because I could see it filling a gap on the volume, having a drop all the way down towards this spike from earlier around 11, right? Now, what if that doesn't happen? What if this breaks below this a bit, but it's not a clean break? Like it broke it, but it's not a clean break. It comes right back on up after. It doesn't drop lower, but it comes right back on up after. And that's where I ended up jumping in on this trade myself. So I, it's wrong stock. That's hour right there. So let's go right to Octo. I wish I stayed in. Wish I stayed in, guys. Sure, like every one of us here. But just basically here, it was building support, building support. It had 1475. I looked at $15 as not even a whole number level, but as a $5 Abraham Lincoln-esque number. So it broke below it. I was very skittish at the time. I didn't jump in here. And it started to pop back up. I'm like, no way. This is actually going to try and hold back over this. I was looking for a quick scalp on my trade here to see this try and pop and see where it goes, but it was going to be a very short-lived trade in relation to time. It's already up so much. So I finally had the cojones, I guess, to take this trade. I missed it from earlier. I waited a little while. I got in right at 1506 on 200 shares. I ended up getting out. No, it was before that. Yeah, I got out at like right underneath 17. Listen, I didn't want to be on the top of the roller coaster looking down, right? So that's just where this popped up pretty nicely. Pretty much right around here. No, right here. I just figured I was going to expect lower highs, and what if this shakes back down? I don't want to be on the downside of this trade. Scariest part with doing this type of move is that we're too focused on the fact that it's up and going up, and we want to make money. What happens if the music stops and you're left without a chair, right? Let me ask our students here. Normally, let's say like right now, currently live at 12:28 p.m. Eastern time. If you were to take a trade and you jump into any one stock, right? Let's pretend you're following the rules perfectly. You jump in. What's the last thing that you need to do in order to cross your T's, dot your I's? When you start up your car in your driveway, what are we doing? Put our seatbelt on, right? We got to set our stop. We're too focused on making money here and the thought of this going up more and more and more. I know it worked out. Kudos. This is like a 1 in a million. But what happens when it fails? You can't set a stop in pre-market. Maybe at 12:28 p.m. Eastern time you could, but not at 8:52 p.m. 8:52 a.m. Eastern time, mind you. So, I ended up getting out on this trade. I took the money and ran underneath 17. Felt happy with it. Now it's just to mention, though, that we're getting close to the market open. So not only is this stock up, in my opinion, too much percent compared to what we normally trade and look at and call out. I mean, it can't possibly keep going up that much more, right? Right? So just to say, though, that even aside of that, we're getting close to the market open. Even if this was up 100%, I would just tell you, hey, the closer we get to the market open, it's best to just, give this stock a chance to breathe and relax before the opening bell. Shit, if I woke up one magical morning after a long weekend, get my teeth pulled on Thursday, wake up on Monday, and all of a sudden the stock I'm in is up 1,000+%, pretty sure I'm going to want to sell. Pretty sure I'm going to want to take the profit and run, right? I did a sports bet yesterday. I'm not going to mention any specifics because if you think the trading gods are unforgiving, the gambling gods are that much more unforgiving. So I got a bet going on right now. And, from the amount of money I put into the bet, I could cash out right now up 1,000% on the bet. But I could hold on for tonight's game and I could try and make 2,500% on the move, on the bet. Well, you can't go broke taking a profit, right? So, hey, what if one magical morning you wake up and your trade, your bet, whatever it is, hits? It's like, all right, well, shit, let me get out at 17. I was in from 4, right? Like people with common sense would do that. So for that reason, it would make sense to have this stock shake down, have a chance to breathe and relax a bit. Maybe it can go up a little higher after the open. Well, not only do you want to give the stock a chance to breathe and relax a bit before the opening bell, but you should give yourself a chance to breathe and relax a bit, right? Let's say you crushed it on this stock and you're up like your day's pay before the open even hits. It's just Monday, let alone not even midweek. So we have all day, all week to make more. give yourself a chance to just breathe and relax. Do a happy dance around your, house. Celebrate that you made a lot of money on this trade here. So that's just where I'll tell you, the closer we get to the market open, it's natural to just like wait here, not look for anything more. Now, hey, this obviously didn't drop much lower than from 15. It held pretty nicely. It only spiked back up and, well, kept on going, right? So there's obviously a lot more left to the move, but that's where I'll tell you, even if you don't jump in on this stock, it's going to unlock the door for, this is at 80 bucks now. It's insane. It's going to unlock the door for other crazies to break out the insane asylum, right? Hopefully Duo keeps going up for my sake here, but you got other stocks that were making a move earlier. I know Tim and I were looking at the hour trade, right? This has a really strong shot of making a move here this afternoon. So there's others. It's not even just like this is the only one. It's not like Octo is the only stock out there, right? And if you missed out on this stock, it's not like there's going to be no other opportunity out there in the market all day. Now, of course, don't you wish that you bought at like 8 and you got out here? Of course, I wish I did that too, right? But the more that you harp on that and dwell on that, you're eating up a lot of valuable time in your day. And I don't even mean that in terms of like Catherine the trader, Alicia the trader, Josh the trader. That alone is like a giant waste of time to my day as Josh the trader. It's also a giant waste of time to Josh the human, right? Like trading is not the only thing that goes on in my day. Like there's other things I want to get done today. Coming off the weekend, I got to pick up some medication. I got to call some family members, catch up with them. I don't need to be dwelling on bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's just where I say the more that you dwell on, oh, I wish I did that. Oh, should have. There's other stocks. There's plenty of other fishies out there in the sea right now as we're talking. Let's check back in on our Soon trade. Not everything needs to be even a day trade. Well, how about our good old friend Soon? Soon's up 4.5% nearly right now. It's been a beauty of a swing since we had entered from the end of last week on Thursday or Wednesday. It was. I think it was Wednesday. We jumped back in on that. But the more that we dwell, we're like, oh, I wish I did that. Not every stock is going to move up 5,000% in a day. Most stocks don't. Most stocks don't even go up 1,000%. So if you're trying to like find the magic formula to ride the wave on the 5,000% mover, it's like kind of like trying to game plan for when you get hit by lightning. You know what I mean? Like how rare is it? So it's just to say that there's going to be other fish out there in the sea for us to grab. And even if you missed out on this last leg here from 50 up to 80, which is huge, just to say, it's all right. There's others out there. Eventually this is going to come out the common stock offering, and this is going to drop like 30, 40% on that news alone. In fact, if you don't believe me, I'm going to have egg on my face here if I'm wrong with this, quite frankly. So this is honestly a pure gamble from my side of things right now. Let's see what happens here. Did they have any forms that they're going to file, or did they already filed for Form 8? Yep. This morning, ding, 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 Form 8K coming in. So it looks like they're likely to be doing an offering, at least TBD. At some point soon over time, this company is going to do an offering of shares. I know they received a private placement. I know that they had a $20 million investment from Fundstrat. But shit, for a stock that goes up 100%, we'll see this happen a lot, let alone 5,000. Like, it's going to happen. Now, on the flip side of that, one thing I just want to say before we finally move on from this stock, I guess two things now, and one thing I'll slip in at the end. But for anyone here that, is like contrarian trader, you're probably brand new to our room, because if you're consistently a contrarian trader, you're probably going to blow up your account. Why do I say that? Well, think about the stock market. If you're a contrarian trader trying to look for the next recession, probably hasn't been working out too well for you, quite frankly. If you're trying to short this stock Octo, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy's worst enemy. Just to tell you that there's people that are losing, significant portions of their account by trying to short this thing today. The trend is your friend. Please remember that. It's a lot better to be hesitant with buying this as opposed to like trying to look for the short and trying to be a bear on this trade. Because I certainly wasn't expecting this to be up 5,000% today, but I wouldn't have shorted this, right? Just want to mention that at least. Now, as far as this trade now, it's a lot easier to say this now at this very point in the move compared to earlier. But the closer this gets, the easier it is to say. Wouldn't shock me if this ends up hitting $100 later on today. Get this programmed to hit $100. Wouldn't have said that about 20 minutes ago. Wouldn't have said that 10 minutes ago. But the more this is, I mean, it's at 80 now. It's insane. So unless if there's some crazy long-term resistance on the daily chart, you got to go back a little bit here. This is not all-time highs, folks. Big difference between a stock breaking all-time highs and this. So, yeah, I mean, I was looking at, this was even earlier when this was at like freaking 30 bucks, like 31 bucks or 29 or so. There was one wick here. I was saying maybe that could be some sort of top, 29.75. It's already over these wicks here around 57, 56. This is 60. Now we got to focus on the one from like the 27th of 2023. What that hit at like 87.50. This one wick. And then this one here after is at like 97.50. You can't use that as confident levels and targets. Say, oh, it's definitely going to hold there. It's just one wick. So you're kind of like grasping for straws here, desperate. Now, if we focus on the heat map, 80 bucks. Well, there was resistance here. 41,000, 42,000 share seller out there. The more it keeps poke, there's a chance it could try and break it. But if it's not going to make that big move going up, big move going down here. Here's our pullback. Still might hit 100. Who knows? But yeah, this is a healthy drop now. All right. If we're going to try and shoot our shot here and say, all right, if this is not the end of the run yet, and if this is going to bounce, let's see where this could be from, right? That's kind of my thing right here. So what I want to just do for fun more than anything, because I'm certainly not confident in this happening, figure it's going to eventually break lower at some point. You had a 94,000, 95,000 share print that kicked in right at noontime here, a little afterwards, pretty much when we started this workshop. Giant ball, giant dot on the heat map here. We talk about this in our curriculum, in our class. Just, quick spark note answer here is that if this wants to stay alive, if this wants to make a move back up later on today, it's got to stay over this area, 58.19-ish. If not that, then see it drop much lower. So yeah, if you want this to be a better move for later on today, right around 58-ish. It's not going to be to the exact penny, but if it slingshots back right now, then even better. But I'm just pointing out that definitively you'd want to see this line, this area hold pretty nicely as support. It was 58.19. I'll make the line exact, but I wouldn't expect perfection out of that. This is such a volatile stock. So if this does keep dropping here, just make sure this holds. If it slings back up now, then, all the better, right? All the more better. All right, folks. We got Dave here joining us on the YouTubes today. Dave, always great to see you there, and Leda as well. And all of our members otherwise on social media, if you're just interested in our style of trading with what we do on each and every day basis. We do live streams in the morning and the afternoon. Coming up later on today at 2:30 Eastern, I'll be back on myself. We got 36+ year pro Fausto. He'll be back on tomorrow himself here in the morning. But always make sure to hit the follow and subscribe button right down below there, just down right below me at Cyber Trading U. But otherwise, though, let's go through a bunch of different statements and questions and comments from students right here inside our trading room. Let's see. I got to scroll up here. I went through a whole lot here to begin, right? So just to mention to start, Genevieve says you have to stay focused on risk management. Bill says, I wish I'd bought Bitcoin at 100, kind of in relation to, us wishing that we stayed in the trade from 15, let alone 10, right? So yeah, I agree right there with you, Bill. Chuck says, no, don't cry if you missed a pile of profits. Just look for another entry, assuming the trend is still going. Absolutely, Chuck. And Chuck, you know as well as pretty much any of us, I'd say, right? Let's keep it going here. We got Chuck Z, Chuck V. Chuck V saying, interesting that now it's the same price level as BMNR. Yeah, right. I mean, kind of crazy that, maybe that was an earlier comment, but just generally, I know what you mean, right? Just looking at how much this had moved up from 4, ended up going all the way up here, at least this red candle where it whipped up as high as 75. Then it pulled back, and then a couple of days later had its final move here at the time. But yeah, I mean, this Octo trade, you got to imagine, right? I mean, you could hope, but you can't really expect with confidence that this is going to keep moving up tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, etc., etc. So here we go already. Slingshot right back on up. Perfect. You go, Thomas. You know, Tom, on your trade right there. In at 52 out of 58. That's fine. Chuck, pretty much same movement for him right there. Chuck Z saying, Josh, did your IQ go down as a result of losing all your wisdom teeth? Right? See, there we go. I got enough caffeine in me now, Chuck. Normally, if I didn't, that would probably even go over my head. I always tell you I'm not the sharpest tool in this shed. No, but seriously, yeah, no, I appreciate you asking in the sense of caring and concern. All good now. Thankfully, I can't really tell if my IQ's gone down if it did. But just to mention, though, hey, you don't need to have a high IQ to make money on these trades. It's a matter of being process oriented. Looking at this, kind of uneducated, looking at this without the experience that you have, or Alicia has, or Grant has, or Bill, or Leda, or Debbie, Roger, any of us here, it's a lot easier to be overwhelmed and say, oh my God, what the hell is going even on here? Like, how do I even handle something like this, right? And especially when the market opens, we're calling out not just Octo, we're calling out Duo. No, that's Dub. We're calling out Duo. We're calling out Hour, right? What was the one from earlier that sucked? I took a loss on this one. X-Air. It was a nice trade at first, but then, or actually, no, it was a very hairy trade at first, and then it broke out after the open. This was the only viable, real move it made, and then after, it just got choppy again, right? But it's just to say, though, that you don't need to be the sharpest tool to make money on these stocks. You just have to follow the same process. Now, with that said, of course, as a trader, if you follow the same process over and over and over and over and over, and there's results already shown from that strategy, my assumption at least, and this should be your assumption too, no strategy is 100% successful every day of the week, every hour of the hour. So just to say, though, that, hey, I took a loss on this stock, but aside from this, pretty good day all around. Duo right now, trying to, make a higher high. So even if you missed out on Octo, I can't beat this drum enough today. There's plenty of other stocks out there for us to capitalize on. The more that we beat ourselves up over this, over the anomaly, over the 1 in a million. How about this? Let me phrase it this way to all of us here. You know how it's going to make sense. And if you're on social media, I want you to answer this for me as well. We had the Powerball hit, right? On Saturday night, 11 o'clock, Powerball hit 1.8 billion. I think 2 people won. Let me ask Uday, Chuck, Grant, all of us here live, were you really upset with yourself? Did you say, oh, I did so bad because you didn't win the Powerball? Exactly. Right, Chuck? Exactly. Right, Alicia, Bill? Come on. This is a 1 in a million trade. So if you made money on it earlier, kudos. It's awesome. It's fun to take part in history, right? So it is cool to take a stab on this. If you're just trying to have some fun and do tiny sides, trying to cool. But don't beat yourself up if you had missed out on this move altogether. It's like missing out on Powerball. It's like, shit, I missed out on Powerball again. Damn it. It's like, maybe we should focus on things that you have a better chance of making money on, right? Maybe we should focus on outcomes that have a higher likelihood of landing, right? That's where I tell you all the time. There's going to be stocks out there that are not up 1,000% yet that might make a 60% move. That's a hell of a lot of profit here I can capitalize on here for the Duo trade. Just want to bring that up. So let's go over a couple other moves here briefly, folks. I just kind of made this mostly about the Octo because I had to. How could I not? But otherwise, though, the Duo trade was a nice mover from today. I missed out on most of this move at first and then finally got some good action on it just now, or before we started our workshop. So let me ask us here briefly, where do we have resistance on this chart? Where do we got resistance here on this heat map? Exactly, Sam. I want to repeat what Sam says here, just as you answer this for us. Sam says, last Friday, did we know that Octo would pop on Monday? No. Tomorrow there'll be another, and Tuesday, and Wednesday, etc. Josh and Rich always have found good stocks and found, yeah, of course, absolutely, right? So couldn't have phrased it any better myself, Sam. Absolutely. All right, so we got resistance at 450, right? Figure the more times it keeps testing resistance at 450, get the breakout. What's our next resistance after 450? Look at the heat map. Look at the orange lines. I want you to only answer where we got the orange lines. So after 450, what's our next orange line? 520. So, hey, if this breaks over 450, why not think it can go up to 520? Now, otherwise, though, it kept testing, and I noticed, well, we have resistance here at 450. We have our next resistance at 520. Where do we have a big spike of volume on the far right side? On the far right side of this page, folks, where do we have a larger spike of volume? What do we got? 420, right? And I wrote to you earlier inside the room. I was just saying, kind of like as a thought behind taking this trade, either take it off 450, which is the resistance that we were calling out at first. But otherwise, if Duo could make, I said Duo can make another move if it holds over 420 as support. I wrote that at 11:21 in the morning. So it was pretty much on the drop here, on the pullback. And I ended up entering this trade right at 425 on my entry. I set my stop right below 420. So if it were to shake down during this workshop, I would have been taken out. But if it's going to hold over that level, I think that there's a case for a new move. That was my exact sentiment. Now, here, though, looks like we got pretty darn close to 520. We have $5, which is a whole number level here at this point. I'm up a decent chunk actually on this trade right now. So I'm going to take half of this trade out right here, and then I'm going to keep half just remaining. Give me a quick moment. I'm just selling on the bid right at 498. So I'm just taking some parts out. Hey, what if this goes up 5,000%, right? Then I'm definitely regretting selling here partly. But listen, I'm going to be on coaching sessions and calls with students coming up. I'm in a few other trades as well on top. All of those otherwise are swings. But this is meant as a day trade. Listen, I'm going to take some out and I'll keep some in now. I feel a lot better, at least, taking some money out at this stage. All right, so give me a quick moment here. So Duo, I mean, again, if this wants to keep popping up, then where could we have our next resistance? Well, 520 from the heat map. This has been a stinker for quite some time, right? This thing has been dropping off for a little while here. So probably is not going to survive long term, I'd imagine. This is probably going to be some pump and dump type trade. Got wicks back from last year, or from the beginning of this year, rather. 650s, $6 or so. If you go back long term, this wick down, it bottomed down at 512 back from September of 24. So it looks like there's a pretty decent, bottom that was built here. Looks like even before that, it was like 560s, 570s. So let me ask our students here briefly, just generally speaking, for Chuck, Catherine, Bill, Leda, Grant, Sam, all of us here. When a stock breaks below big support and it crashes from big support, what are we expecting that support to flip into? Resistance, right? So notice the bottoms here, right around 560, 562. All right, well, that should be resistance coming up. And if not that, maybe actually this wick, this bottom, technically speaking, as low as 512. So it is pretty much right there now, right around that 512 price. But the more this does keep popping, I 100% would be expecting a resistance right around this 560-ish area, probably between 560, 565. Support flipping into resistance. Seller out there at 6, so that also is kind of resistance now too. But yeah, we'll hang into this trade now, see where it goes. I already have my stop set on the second half of it, and it took money out just now in the first half. All right. Let's go over some other trades before we finish up here, folks. Actually, I'll recap the soon trade, and then otherwise we'll dig into emails and chats, anything else on top. But let me just go into the daily chart here. Let me ask our students as well, who is in with me on the soon stock, the SOUN? Great swing trade potential. I was in there, right place, wrong time at first, and then it actually dropped same day to the next level. And I wasn't saying expecting it. I kind of wrote that in the chat. I gave you that thought. I'm like, oh, maybe it could drop down that, later on to that price. Honestly, I wasn't expecting it to. So when I saw it drop that low, I'm like, well, shit, if I like it at 1350, I got to be a big fan of it at like 1270, right? Chuck, you just got out. Debbie, you're in. All right, cool. Very nice. Chuck, what price do you get out on that trade? Right at 15 or like right below? Good trade. It's a really good trade. You're up 15% still, and we're up even a little more prior to that when it was around that price. I'm looking at 1530-ish as like a resistance next on this trade, more from the heat map than anything. But the more this keeps going up, I can see it retesting these highs again from around 1660-ish or so. And maybe even going up higher from that point. Very healthy long-term graph. So I don't have fear in the stock dropping or making some downward move. And it's coming off a nice pop here. I think this was earnings related, if I'm not mistaken. And they filled the gap. They try to fill the gap. They filled a good chunk of it, but it took time, built back up. And now if it reclaims this next, flips over this as resistance into a support, why not think that this will go up towards 20 again, even higher? So I got a lot of potential on the stock level by level. So I'm going to hang into this at least for now. And we'll see how the afternoon goes, obviously. It's always subject to change, but Debbie in at 1302. Really nice entry from her. And Chuck, you got out at 1491. Excellent. Really nice job. Excellent profit there from Chuck V. Actually, this might be a good segue, Chuck. Yeah, it's a good segue. All right, so let's get to some emails here before we call it here, because I got to jump onto a call at 1 o'clock with one of our students. Got a 1, I got a 1:30 and a 2. So with that, let's make sure that we're on schedule. But otherwise, Chuck sent in a quick one here earlier. Could you talk about the mechanics of trade entry, particularly what candle that I use, the risk-reward ratio, and where to set stops and profit limits? So ipso facto, right? And I just, I mentioned this to mention it. It's kind of like you're asking me to teach you the full strategy, right? Everything lumped up in an elevator pitch. So everything involved in our phase 1, 2, and 3 curriculum will give you the answers to what you're looking for. And I say that to everyone, not just Chuck. Chuck knows, but to any of our students, whether you're with us for months on end or brand new, our curriculum from phases 1, 2, and 3 is meant to provide everything from A to Z in full, in length. Gives you the full answer. I got all the time to keep yapping and going over all of this stuff with you there. Traders Talk is a good little like band-aid week to week to use. The coaching program, which Chuck knows, I've worked with him previously there with it, and other students too. But the one-on-one coaching program, I'll have a lot more time myself to give you this answer. Now, with all that said, let me give you the elevator pitch answer here. Trade entry, when it breaks through a big level on the way up, right? That's my catchphrase. There's nothing different about that exact phrase. So when it comes to the trade entry, I need to know where my resistance is, or if it broke over resistance and already ran from resistance, what are we looking for resistance to flip into? So, those are things I immediately turn towards because there's nothing else that I'm trying to use. Now, as far as where my levels are, where's my resistance? Where's my support? Well, you could look at the chart. You could look at Bookmap. I suggest both because you'll get the best of both worlds there and make it easier to make your conviction. Maybe you see a level on the chart that looks like strong, but when you look up Bookmap, there might be a 200,000 share iceberg, maybe 8 pennies above that price. So you always need to know where your levels are before you're just jumping in, right? And this, again, isn't just a Chuck. Chuck V has his head on his shoulders. I know that from my dialogue with him. I'm talking about brand new students joining us or otherwise traders that you got to look at yourself in the mirror to answer this one. But if you know that you're not consistently profitable with us yet, I'm talking to you as well, right? So that's just where I'll tell you, we need to know where our levels are. I'm never going to take a trade without confidence in a price acting as major support or major resistance. That's where I was saying it was so easy to not jump in on Octo because you know that is going to fall off at some point. But same to be said for all of these stocks. Just make sure it has good liquidity, a good spread, tight spread filled in order book. Now, risk reward, I can give you a number here, but just realize it's not a number I always have in my head all the time. It's just something that you'll hear from just any real group out there online. There are certain reward risk ratios that people will use 3 to 1, 4 to 1. Some use like 2.5 to 1. Basically, you don't want to risk more than what you're trying to look for in a reward. And honestly, you should be risking about half or a third of what your total reward should be. So let's just say, for instance, like on I can't use Octo for this one, but for Duo, to go from 425, 420-ish area and see this try and make a move up. I didn't have this in my head, but if I was trying to make 50, 60 cents per share on this, maybe let's just say 80 cents per share. I'm just giving a level to level number. Risk about maybe a quarter of that, right? 4 to 1. So if I'm trying to look for 80 cents, maybe at most, no more, risk about 20 cents a share. So that's what reward risk ratio means. So every group will give like a different number, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. The higher that you are making the reward to risk ratio, meaning 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1, means that you're typically looking to risk less. If it's 2 to 1, you're trying to technically risk more, which oftentimes you shouldn't really be doing. Now, in terms of where I set my stops, again, that kind of plays in part with my reward risk ratio, but generally on a very loose level, what I say is you always want to set your stop below your level to begin with. Give yourself a few cents per share below your level. I always say, right? Nothing different from this catchphrase, but when a stock breaks through a big level, we should be getting a pretty big move shortly after. So what if this were to not hold over my 420 area here? Do I feel the need to set my stop at 390, 388? If I'm expecting this to, crap the bed here, if it's not going to hold over my level right now, probably make it a little bit more conservative, right? So in terms of where I set my stop loss, again, I have a full class going over this in phase 2. Go over this with you more in the coaching program. But pretty much you always want to trust your level, but not risk too much from that level, if you know what I mean. All right. So let me know, Chuck. You could always private chat me, Chuck, and this goes for any of our students. If you have any follow-up questions with me on that, whether you have coaching, schedule that immediately. But otherwise, I would just shoot me a quick private chat on the side. Denzel, got an email from Denzel that came in at 9:30 this morning. We're going to answer Denzel's question. Then we're going to wrap up. So again, folks, if you have any additional questions, private chat me on the side, or if you wanted to make sure that you have this answered at least during our workshop, always feel free to email me or chat me, early in the morning before we go live. And first come, first serve, right? So Denzel had asked this actually early on today. He's trying to find the most efficient way to set up Thinkorswim, and particularly how to execute a trade on Thinkorswim. He has the basic CTU setup, but he's been a bit frustrated with using the demo and paper trading setup versus the live setup. For example, he knows that there's a way to quickly execute a trade and then adjust the stop to sell the points right on the chart. And he wants to know how do you have your trading screen set up, and how do you execute / adjust / close trades quickly and efficiently? Okay, so this one definitely take a small amount of time on to go over, Denzel. I'm going to wrap up in a couple here, but I will look to follow up with you on the side. In fact, I'll get my colleague Rich to give you a message or a call, and he could try and help you with Thinkorswim. Pretty much, there shouldn't be any difference with live versus demo. The only difference is simply like one is real executions and one is not. But in the sense of the template, the setup at least, you should be using the same programs, the same charts. It shouldn't look different, right? If it looks different, then right away, Rich will help you on that. If it doesn't look different, but there is a difference in order execution, that could be maybe based on some warning sign that could pop up, meaning if you're trading live and if Thinkorswim knows that, they might establish a little warning sign popping up saying, hey, are you sure that you'd like to enter this position that you said at this price, at this time, at this many shares? And, that's one thought. But other than that, at least, I would just say, hotkeys could be a good answer for you in terms of quickness. Not everyone is so tech savvy here, and I know that. I'm definitely not the most tech savvy. I'm not like the master of all trades when it comes to, or the jack of all trades, rather, when it comes to every platform that you could trade off of. I'm sure Interactive Brokers has hotkeys. I'm sure Webull has hotkeys. I'm sure Thinkorswim has hotkeys. So if there are hotkeys for you to establish, where you can set up on your keyboard, press the key F7, and you could set up a stop order. Something like that will very much help you with your own order execution. Remember, you do want to be on a direct access trading platform. And if not direct access, you just want to have good and quick and fast order execution. But as much as you might have a platform that is quick or is good, which Thinkorswim is, they're awesome. Every platform goes through their own bullshit, folks. So TradeStation goes through their own BS. Thinkorswim too. Thinkorswim's awesome. Just want to let you know that. But you might have a very fast platform. You might have decent internet. But if you yourself are a little slow or hesitant to pull the trigger when you should be, we need to adjust, right? That's not to say it's bad. If you're a brand new student of CTU, you're going to take some time to train your hand-eye and your reactions, and you'll get faster with it over time, naturally. So if you do find you're a bit hesitant with taking trades and pulling the trigger, I would say a quick little hotkey right there could be a good guide, not only to enter the trade, but to also, close trades out quickly, adjust, meaning to like set your stop at the minimum. That would just be a quick thought, Denzel, and I could have Rich, like I had said, my colleague, look to, message in just a moment. Dave, quick shout out to Dave here, just always joining us inside our live trading room, otherwise on the YouTubes, but saying, yeah, from earlier, better to miss out than to lose. Absolutely, Dave. I saw you write that earlier. Folks, we're going to wrap up, at least for right now. Lightning round here as I finish up, because we're going to jump onto a few calls here coming up. So real briefly, Jeff, one of our trial members, asking us here, where do you find these classes? And it looks like you already found them. There you go. You know what my key is normally? If I flap my gums too much, eventually students will find out the answers for themselves, right? I say that about myself. I'm self-deprecating. I can go on forever, Jeff. No, it looks like you figured out what you were looking for there. Looks like the access to the courses is only available at extra cost. Is that correct? After the trial, if you wanted to join us for our full curriculum, talk to one of our education advisors about that. This is not for everyone in terms of personality, in terms of what your goals are as a trader. So we're not going to, give you everything out the gate for $7. If you wanted to commit to us and become a student, and you know that you have the time and you see this as potential, we're here to train you. And at that point, we'll give you access to our phase 1 stock course there, Jeff. This workshop, though, is pretty much an extension of the classes. We do this workshop every week right here in this room, and you have access to this and all of the recordings of this as well. You can go back on the student portal and go through the recordings of this workshop for the 7 days that you're with us. All right, a lot of chatter here on Thinkorswim, folks. So with that, let me know if you have any other questions on the side. Going to jump onto a couple calls with students here in just a bit. But otherwise, listen, we got some good trades to work with right now. Even this duo stock has some potential still. Looks like there's a chance for this to still build higher lows, and maybe it could try and re-break this resistance here, perhaps. We'll see. But, our next broadcast will be coming up later on today, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, just for the afternoon meeting. So, we'll be back live on YouTube there as well. If you wanted to join us inside our live trading room, Leda and Dave, certainly not you, you're already students. But otherwise, just go right down to the link scrolling down on the bottom there in blue, ctu.co/trial, and get you signed up for a week-long trial to our live trading room. Get the full commentary, the full chat board. Right now, there's about 102 of us joining us live inside our room. Honestly, pretty good for a Monday. So, listen, the more people learn about the Octo trade, I think they're kind of rushing into the room saying, oh, is it still going? Is it going to keep pumping up? Hey, even this we'll find out. As long as this builds support, it's like you're saying there's a chance, right? You never know. We'll see if this has enough juice left to try and get up to 100, but we'll find out later on today, folks. We'll catch up with everyone in just a little bit and talk to you soon.